Mr. Harper is trying to scare Canadians with the thought that we would jeopardize the home renovation tax credit. That's completely false, and he knows it. We supported the home renovation tax credit before. Our problem is we just don't support the government anymore. But home renovation tax credit's a good measure, and it would continue under a Liberal government. I just wanted to make that clear because it symbolizes why we're having such difficulty working with the government, why it's become impossible. Constant exercise of jamming, constant exercise of game playing, and constant exercise of my way or the highway, which is no way to run a minority parliament. Finally, you think, it's my way or the highway, take the highway. The HST, the Harper sales tax, the thing that concerns us is that the Harper government has, during a time of recession and economic difficulty, basically pushed sales tax harmonization across the country and is now walking away from it, saying it has nothing to do with us. It's the provincial governments. And we think that's dishonest. They're fully implicated in this decision, and they should take responsibility for it, and it's going to be a tax collected by a federal government. Many British Columbians look at it and think, looks like a tax hike. Well, the key question that we would need to look at in government is whether there's ways in which we can make this work better for British Columbians. But for the moment, this is squarely on Stephen Harper's shoulders. And he keeps pushing this off and pretending it's a solely provincial matter, and he's doing the same thing in Ontario, and it won't wash. We feel very strongly that a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian, and that this government should never have been resisting a range of court decisions, compelling it to act in the Omer Khadr case. We've been clear for 18 months, 2 years, and we find it extraordinary that the Conservative government would take this right up to the Supreme Court when we're talking about a Canadian citizen. Canadians have different views about Mr. Khadr's conduct, but that's not the issue. This man is a Canadian citizen. Guantanamo needs to be closed. Canadians believe that we should play our part in closing Guantanamo. And why is the Conservative government resisting something that seems clearly in Mr. Khadr's interest and in the interest of global peace and security? Guantanamo has not exactly been a bright star in global human rights, let's put it that way.
So you'd bring him home?
Yeah. I think the economy is still struggling. I've been across the country from coast to coast to coast this summer. 1.5 million Canadians are looking for work. Bankruptcies are up 50%, and we're staggering along with a $50 billion deficit, and the OECD says we're going to have the slowest and most painful recovery of any country. This is just, our view is that this just isn't good enough, and that we can do better. And the question is not whether Canada is going to get out of the recession. Canadians have put their shoulder to the wheel. Canadians can be proud of everything they've done to try and improve their economic circumstances. The question is, who can lead Canada into recovery, into the new economy? Who's best qualified to create the new jobs of tomorrow? Because Canadians are uneasily aware that some of the jobs we've lost this past year, and we've lost close to 500,000 under Conservative rule, are not coming back. So who's best placed to lead us into recovery? Who's best placed to lead us into tomorrow? That's going to be the question. I think there's nothing reckless about trying to offer Canadians a clear alternative, a better alternative. There is nothing that would jeopardize recovery. Our recovery is halting and slow and difficult under this government. We think we could accelerate recovery and make it more effective. So we're genuinely acting in the interests of all Canadians. And as for crass political ploys, we've had 10 months of this government jamming at us at every opportunity, refusing to cooperate, refusing to collaborate, constantly saying my way or the highway, pretending to collaborate and then not actually delivering. And at a certain point, I just think you just have to stand and say, enough is enough. We can do better. This isn't a question of polls. This is a question of principle. I've said that we've propped this government up after its near-death experience last December and try to provide stability for Canadians. But at a certain point, if you're dealing with a government with this failing economic record, it becomes a matter of principle whether you can sustain it any longer. So we've simply said, we're the opposition. And at a certain point, we've got to stand up for our principles and hopefully, and that's what we're doing, point Canada to a better future, a future in which we're creating new jobs, replacing the ones that we've lost under Conservative rule, getting this deficit under control, investing in education, science and technology, breaking new paths to China and India. These are the crucial areas of leadership where we feel the government's let us down. So this is about giving Canadians the chance, if it comes to that, to choose a government that can show leadership and lead us into full economic recovery, because we can't go back the way we came. The path is forward to a new economy. Well, we've had a couple of, we insisted on accountability reports, and we got one in June that was making essentially claims that were unbelievable. This is the problem we've got about the government. People ask me why I find it so difficult to deal with them. Well, I find it difficult to deal with them because they make claims like we've got 80% of our stimulus funds committed, and then you look and you discover that in fact in Ontario only 200 of the 1,200 announced projects have actually got out. So there's a basic fundamental problem of credibility with this government. Same thing with the deficit. They come at you and say first the deficit's going to be $32 billion, and then it jumps suddenly to 50. North of 50. We don't actually know what the size of the deficit is. All I can tell you about our plan on the deficit is we've got credibility here. We inherited a $42 billion deficit from Brian Mulroney, the last Conservative government. We dug the country out of it without raising taxes. We're going to inherit a 50-plus deficit from Mr. Harper, and we'll dig the country out too. We did it before, we'll do it again. Well, we want to make sure that we've got policies that promote economic growth, policies that promote our engagement with China and India, policies that invest in post-secondary education so we have the best trained workforce in the world, policies that put the federal government around the table with the leading sectors in these economies, forestry, manufacturing, biotech, financial services, and say, what's the strategy to build jobs and build market share in foreign economies? That's the start. We have to offer Canadians in this region a credible economic plan for recovery and for creating the jobs of tomorrow for their children and grandchildren. We also have to be listening very carefully to many of their concerns about law and order and public safety. They have to feel certain that a Liberal government will stand with them to keep their streets and communities safe and invest in the police and work to improve the service offered by the RCMP in those communities. Those would be two areas where I think we have to have a very positive message, and we have to have great candidates, and we've had terrific representation here. Suk Dhaliwal has done a wonderful job, Ujjal Dosanjh, all our MPs have shown what you get when you vote for a Liberal, and we're looking forward to build on that great reputation that we have in the Lower Mainland.